Please note the QML draws in the 3 modes. One, there is something called a basic mode. Another is basically called the Windows mode. Another is basically called threaded mode. There are 3 modes. Basic, Windows, threaded. Basic and Windows are both are single threaded, but the threaded is actually multi-threads. Thread is actually multi-threads. Okay. It is slightly very theoretical stuff, but still I would like to basically explain you guys. Okay. Now tell me, I told you so many things. At least let me put it on a very high level to just do this to make you understand. Let's say you are parsing and everything. There is a scene graph which is basically built, right? There is a scene graph which is basically built. There is a scene graph technology on which it works. Now this scene graph works with OpenGL. Tell me guys, what is OpenGL? It is just a library for us to basically draw. But the data structure, the data, what you require, all that has to come from where? It has to come from somewhere. That's where these two will work together. Scene graph is nothing but a simple data structure. It does not have any technology for us to draw. Hope you understand. Technology draw means drawing on the screen, right? For that, it is basically depend on the open. That means these are the two things which basically scene graph is the data structure. OpenGL is the graphic engine which basically helps us to draw. These are the two. The moment you start drawing it, right? For example, there is something called a UI thread always. There is something called a GUI thread which is always there. Either you talk about a Qt or you talk about a QML, it is there. GUI. What is GUI thread? Not a big thing. You know main thread. Many times we call it a main thread, right? What is the meaning of main thread? Some program. It starts on program. The task it starts its execution of the function called as a main is basically called as what main thread. And now that is incidentally that is showing a UI thread. We call it as a GUI thread. This will be there on this. Now please note this, the basic and Windows, when I talk about this, these are all a simple single threaded application where all the preparation, displaying it, rendering it, everything basically happens inside only single thread. Okay. Now, yes, this single thread is, along with this, there is one more thread which basically comes into picture, that's called as renderer thread. That means, if it is a threaded stuff, by default it's a threaded, there will be two threads which basically gets created. One thread is a UI thread, another is a renderer thread. One thread is UI thread, another is a renderer thread. Now, tell me where this renderer thread comes into picture, there this UI, this one comes into picture. As a programmer, you don't have any access for this. Point number one. Whether I can do something with this, you will not be able to do anything with this. But let's say where they basically take an example is, for example, there is a scene graph exists, there is an OpenGL drawing exists. Let's say a scene graph and all, let's say it's built everything using the GUI thread. Now, when it is supposed to be drawn, what they say is, let's say assume that your processor is a multi-core operating system. Not multi-core operating system, it is a multi-core processor. That is a multi-core, can two threads run on different this one or not? There's a possibility that one thread can run in one core, another thread can run in another core. How can I take an advantage of this multi-core systems? Correct, right? When it comes to a scenario where I need to take advantage of the multi-core this one, that's where what people basically internally do is, there is one UI thread which basically does it. This UI thread is responsible for, let's say you click on it for example, and you are supposed to enter the mouse image. Based on that, another window has to basically come. For example, you click on it, another window is supposed to come. When another window comes up, can you visualize it? For example, it has to parse it, it has to build it, everything has to be done, right? Finally, scene graph has to be built, finally it has to get rendered. Now, initial task of that one is getting done by a GUI thread. Finally, for rendering, what does it do is, the scene graph and everything is basically gets copied into this particular, the renderer thread mechanisms. And now, once it is basically copied it here, right? For example, this guy will be responsible for rendering it. This guy will be responsible for rendering it. But at the same time, what the GUI thread will do, question will come into the picture. Internally, an optimization is done such a way that, for example, the task is basically given for rendering, some other guy to basically render it, show the content here. But in between, it can start doing a preparation for next screen or next frame. What does it mean here is, very thin line example. How you have run an animation. You run an animation just to take a very simple. When you run an animation, what is the, let's assume that you are changing the width. When you are changing the width, for example, right now width is 50, after that you are changing the width to what? 51. When it is 50, there is some preparation required. Width is 50, all that you have to do it. That preparation is done. Now, after that you have to display it also. Now, once the preparation is done, the task of rendering is given to what? Rendering thread. But now tell me, GUI thread can do now what? It can prepare for the next frame. Next frame is what? Increase the width by what? Increase the width by 2. Like that, there is a thin line of optimization which is basically done between a UI thread and the renderer thread to take an advantage of multi-core system. Whether I have a control over what is that I can do, definitely you don't have a control. You don't even come to know that, okay, there is a render thread which is basically coming to the picture, because many times you get into what? What is accessible to you is only a UI thread. But let me tell you, this renderer thread plus the UI thread, whatever you talk about, it works in conjunction with the scene graph, it works in conjunction with the OpenGL libraries which are basically provided. Okay, that's why there is a, by default, threaded comes into picture, but there is a basic is also there. That basic is what? Basic is a single. Everything basically happens. That's why you sometimes for example, very basic in the sense what? Or let me give an example of embedded boxes, for example. Embedded boxes, multi-core may not be there. That is one. And second thing is to take an advantage of this one, scene graph, OpenGL, all this combination, whatever we are talking about, right? To take an advantage of that, your OpenGL libraries also have to basically support that kind of scenario. Because how do you take a multi-core exam? Multi-core is not a, I cannot start doing a programming, right? Some support has to basically come from the library also. Whether the support exists from the OpenGL per se, that also has to be basically there. Based on that it works. Please note on embedded boxes, if I remember correctly, there is something called ELGFS. There is something called windowing system, right? There are multiple windowing systems exist. For example, on Windows, which windowing? There is a windowing system called Window Manager, Windows only. For example, if I go to Ubuntu system, there is a, what is that? Ubuntu system called as X Windows, right? X Windows exists. For example, on a Mac also, it's again an X Windows stuff. For example, if I go to Windows part, there is no separate windowing mechanism exist. It could be a VLAN, it could be ELGFS, it could be something else which is given by some other vendor and all. Okay, that can happen. Let's say the GUI thread and render thread mechanism as of now, let's say if you look at the, according to my knowledge, let's say it works with only EL. That means if your windowing system is the ELGFS, then only the render thread mechanism basically works here. I'm not sure about whether the VLAN works into this kind of a scenario, because if it is the ELGFS compliant, then the render thread will come into it, otherwise it's a single render. Okay, is there a way for me to print? Is it a single threaded or the multi-thread? Multi-thread in the sense what? Let me not say multi-thread. Whether it is the what kind of a threading mechanism which is basically available as of now. Okay, I think it is a QSG underscore info if I am able to set it. For example, in the same this one here, let's say if I not this one. If I say add QSG underscore info, if I set it to 1, I think this prints information about what kind of a threading is basically available as of now. Yes. Yes. If you look at here, the moment I said QSG this one, what does it say here? It says threaded render loop. Pardon? If you look at it, says threaded render loop. That means what a render loop in the sense what we are talking about is the rendering is actually done by the render thread. Another thread which basically doing. Pardon? You guys can also, sorry, which is the variable. Let's say if you want to really look at the variable, there is something called QSG underscore info. And set the value to 1. Set the value to 1. And on Windows, what does it basically says? Yeah. So that means it's on Windows it's a single thread if you look at it. I'm pretty sure you guys are running on the Windows Java, right? Anybody is getting a threaded render loop? Anybody getting a threaded render loop? Again, are you getting it or not getting it? No. We are getting it a Windows render loop, right? So since it's a Windows, that means it's a single threaded. For example, on my Dabba, if I run this, this is using a threaded render loop. The last statement which I would like to basically add here, okay? The moment it hands over the task, the moment it comes back from this right, I can hook on some code to these comments. Hope you guys listen to my English. Let's say whenever GUI thread is handing over the task of rendering to render thread, okay, there is a way for us to basically hook on to this point and exit point. That means whenever it's handing over the task of rendering into the render thread, right, is if I want to do something. Of course, I don't know any use case which I need to basically do it, but the chance of doing it, how basically there are some signals which basically, there is a signal which basically gets emitted from the end. It's basically start rendering and end rendering. If I remember, there are two signals. Based on that, there is a possibility of hooking on it. Other options that there are no other hooks available for us to do it. First of all, scene graph itself, you will not be able to touch it. It's all an internal mechanism. There is no access or there is no the possibility of for us to basically get into how the scene graph is built, can you iterate through that, all that is not possible. It's all internal data basically there. The only thing which I can do here is to basically, before getting into this one, I can tell you first people say, if somebody wants to do a direct OpenGL coding into your QML program, there is a possibility of utilizing this. For example, I can directly put the OpenGL code inside the QML. Anybody is an OpenGL expert here? Anybody has touched the OpenGL? At least I am not an expert into OpenGL, okay? Because OpenGL itself is a different the creative work altogether. At least I am not aware of that. There is an integration hook points which have been basically provided with the QML itself for us to put the OpenGL code directly. OpenGL code in the sense they say about there is OpenGL commands, OpenGL syntax, something exists. So you will be able to put it there. If not something exists, right, there is a possibility of hooking onto this one. That's one thing. Any questions? So that way, hope it answers your question, Ashwa. How many threads will be basically there? Whether I can hook onto it, definitely no. What is the max thread? Absolutely, I have no idea. It's pretty large. Maybe it's a lot of debugging structure which is basically there inside a part of the code. Okay. Libraries. Because somebody has to take advantage of C. Even if I said, I can say I want to have a threaded application, but unless and until your underlying operating system, underlying thread C or not threads, but the library supports this, you will not be able to basically get this. Okay. For example, I am running it, it requires support from OpenGL, okay? And if that kind of a situation exists, then automatically gets into that. Otherwise, it will not do it.